Hey, today I was mentioning how, if you noticed very carefully, it almost kind of looked hazy out there. Well, that was dust. Yeah, believe it or not, we can get the Saharan dust that comes off the coast of Africa. If it's thick enough, it can come all the way across the Atlantic, and the winds are strong enough, it can blow it all the way towards us. Well, sure enough, look at the northern edge of this. It has come all the way into our atmosphere. So that's why it was kind of dusty and hazy out there today and into our area. This is a new product that we have, the European model, where it shows a good idea, a good visual of possible tropical development. What I want you to notice is here we are in Florida, Caribbean, and out in the Atlantic. Watch what happens as we move forward. And you can see it's very evident that tropical development will be likely where we've been talking about out here in the eastern Atlantic by the time we roll around to Labor Day and into next week. But there actually could be a small chance of a low pressure area passing by us and maybe trying to develop, especially as it moves into the Gulf and away from us by the middle of next week. So
let's take a look at the European computer model. Now, this is indicating areas where we could see development in a few days from now. There's that wave, and you can see it heading toward the central Atlantic. We also have the other wave approaching Florida, and not all the computer models are showing development with this system, but some increased rain chances as it pushes into the Gulf early next week. One area we're going to watch there, another one we're going to be watching here as a few more waves next week move off the African coast and come into the Atlantic. So the bottom line is that after a quiet August, September looks to be more active.
Evening storms. Now, obviously, the big weather story is going to be the tropics here over the next week and a half. Not just the Atlantic, but maybe even in the Caribbean, because we have newly tropical depression number 9. That one's going to come at the Caribbean by about the middle of next week. And then here is the general trend on Florence. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to hit South Carolina and North Carolina, but that's the trend, and that's something that we will be watching into next week to see where it ultimately might go. I'll talk about all that coming up in your tropical update in less than 10 minutes.
In here, and so there's a chance as this moves towards Texas, it could develop. As a matter of fact, this is from the European model, and it now shows as this moves out of the Caribbean into the Gulf, a moderate to high chance that this becomes Joyce, possibly as a tropical storm. More rain on the Texas coast, and they've all. Now, this is interesting. This is the European model. This just came in. This is the new ensemble, and notice the odds here on the Euro. About as many members in North Carolina as there are in South Carolina. The official track from the Hurricane Center is sort of right in the middle of this. They have a lot of confidence in the European model, and so it's sort of right in the middle. So, you know, South Carolina may not be out of this, especially up towards Myrtle Beach and then over towards Wilmington and North Carolina.
Any chance of development in the short term. Now, if you look way out here in the Atlantic, though, there you can see Florence, and it does look likely that it's going to head right for the Carolinas by about that Thursday to Friday time frame. And so obviously that's something that we're going to be watching here over the next. Don't look at that center line and say that's exactly where it's going to go. No, there's going to be a lot of variation in that. So that's one of the reasons why we like to look at ensemble forecasting. This is the European model, and you can see it has a general consensus or a center point, kind of an average, right around the South Carolina-North Carolina border. The GFS American model, on the other hand, tends to be right around the outer banks of North Carolina. So if you take the average between those two, it's somewhere right around southeastern North Carolina.